Jesus says in Matthew's Gospel, "Do not judge so that you may not be judged," and tells the story of someone saying to their neighbour, "Let me take the speck out of your eye," not realising they have a log in their own eye. There's a bit of comedy about that statement because the word log can actually mean beam. We've got a 14-foot beam outside in the garden to hold back some ornamental stones and stop them sliding down a grassy slope. And one person can't pick that up. That's the size of the log or beam in your eye that Jesus is talking about. So it's ridiculous, really. You've got to stagger around with it held to your eye and not realise it because you're so hypocritical. First, take the log out of your eye, says Jesus. Let it go so that you can see clearly to remove the speck from your neighbour's eye. That story is very important for what follows. Last Sunday, we had the story of the rich man and Lazarus, the poor man, from Luke chapter 16. The rich man, we're told, dressed in purple and fine linen and feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate was the poor man, Lazarus, who longed to satisfy his hunger from what fell from the rich man's table. And he had sores, which we're told the dogs came and licked. The tragedy at this stage, early on in the story, is that the rich man doesn't even notice Lazarus at his gate. Lazarus perhaps camped behind a shrub. I wonder if we actually don't see what's happening around us. We're so intent on holding the log to our own eye, we don't notice the loneliness of people, the desperate need of people around the world, and indeed now very close to home. We may not feast sumptuously like the rich man, but we eat well, we have shelter, we have loving care, and all sorts of things. Bob Dylan, I think, opens up that hypocrisy very nicely in his song Blowing in the Wind. How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? Anyway, to get back to our story, the poor man Lazarus dies, and we're told that the angels carry him away to be with Abraham. Then the rich man dies and is buried, and he finds himself in a place of torment. Now, I don't think the story is telling us this is what will happen to you when you die. It's got slightly more of a pantomime flavour for me. It's illustrating something very, very deep. So let's hang on to it and see where it's leading us. Now, the rich man, down below, in Hades, this place of torment, tries to boss everyone around, as he'd done in his life. "Abraham," he calls out, "send Lazarus down to me and let him dip his finger in a drop of water and put it on my tongue, because I'm in torment here." Abraham says, "I can't. In your life, you created a vast gulf deep inside you, and here it is expanded in this space between us. No one can cross it. In the minutes of your mortal life, your arteries of compassion were hardening, your vision being severely reduced to seeing only what frustrated you or fulfilled your purposes. It's a gulf only the mercy of God can cross in the outstretched arms of Christ." Anyway, in the story, true to form, the rich man keeps bossing. "Okay, Abraham," he says, "so Lazarus can't come to me, but you could send him to my 5 brothers to warn them so they don't end up in the same place as I've come to." And Abraham replies, "They have Moses and the prophets. let them listen to them. Rich man, no, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, then they'll change their hearts and minds. And Abraham says, if they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, then neither will they be convinced if someone comes to them from the dead. How strange that this story was set and chosen years and years ago on the very weekend when we've been thinking about bankers' bonuses. This isn't the place for me to preach about that. We've all got to come to our own mind on where we see the rights and wrongs of the situation. But I pray for the grace to leave my beam firmly on the floor and simply ask all who are involved, the Chancellor, the Prime Minister, those who advise them, all who will debate the matter, indeed all who may benefit quite greatly from what's proposed. How do you read this story of Jesus? What do all of us make of it all? How can any of us sleep easily at night? Lord, you call us tenderly and urgently. Give us grace to forsake the selfish pursuit of gain and the possessive love of riches, that we may follow in the way of your Son, Jesus Christ.